Today, I want to give you a quick introduction to stratnavapp.com. Stratnavapp.com is an end-to-end tool for collaborative business strategy, development, and execution. Some people have described it as an operating system for your business. My aim today is to show you how easy it is to use, to give you a sense of what it can do for you, and to give you the confidence to get started for yourself. The first step is to sign up. If you go to www.stratnavapp.com, you'll see a screen like this. You can find out more about the system if you want. But today, we just want to go ahead and sign up. There are two ways that you can do this. The first is to simply enter your email address and create a password, and then press Register. You'll need to enter your password twice, just to make sure you get it right. But don't worry if you forget it. The process for resetting it is really straightforward. The other way to sign up is if you have a Google account. Perhaps you have a Gmail account, or your business runs on Google Suite. In that case, it's even easier. Simply click on the Google button here. It's really that easy, and you can sign up for free. You'll see we don't ask for credit card details or anything like that. Once you've signed up, the system will take you through the process of setting up your first project by asking you a few simple questions. All of these questions are optional. You can simply skip them if you prefer. The first question asks you what this project is for. For example, I could be developing a new strategy for an existing business, or I could simply want to execute an existing strategy for an existing business. Equally, I may want to develop and execute a strategy for a startup. And finally, I may want to develop and execute a personal development plan, thinking of myself like I would a business. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to select that I'm developing and executing a strategy for a startup. When I'm ready, I'll click Next. On the next screen, it's asking me for the name and URL of my business. In this example, my startup idea is to open a bike shop on my local high street. My working name is Chris's Bike Shop. It's not very imaginative, I agree, but don't worry, I can always change it later. Because it's still a startup idea, I don't have a website yet, so I'll simply leave the URL blank. That's a general principle in stratnavapp.com. You can leave pretty much anything blank if you don't know, and you can always come back and fill it in or change it later, because business strategy is an iterative process. When I'm ready, I'll click Next. The next question is what I want to call my project. You'll see it's suggested a name, but I might want to change that to Startup Idea Number 1, or My Secret Side Hustle, or whatever I want. In this case, I'll accept the answer and move on. Having answered those few questions, we're now ready to start doing some real work. You will see at the top of the screen that our guidance is that you start with a business model canvas. And you'll see that that guidance is based on the very little information the system has, that you're doing the strategy for a startup. It'll get more specific as you add more information. Now, this is guidance only. You don't have to follow it. You'll see you've got access to our full suite of menus on the left here, and you can go anywhere you want and do anything you want within the tool. And if you're an expert user of the tool, that might make sense. But if you're not, we recommend that you just follow the guidance. It's suggesting that you start with a business model canvas because that's what most experts would recommend for a startup. So you're getting that advice for free. But suppose you don't know what a business model canvas is. Well, we've still got you covered. If you click this little help icon at the top on the right here, you'll see that there you have access to a blog post explaining everything you need to know. That's true throughout the system. Wherever you are, click the help icon and you'll get the help you need when you need it, and where you need it. You'll see you can also log a support ticket if you're having difficulty, or send us your suggestions for improving the tool. But I'm going to dive straight in and start completing my business model canvas. You'll see I can just type something and press enter to add it. So I'll start by adding a customer segment. In this case, I'm going to add weekend warriors trying to keep fit. Remember, I'm doing a strategy for a bicycle shop. I hit enter and the system will add the card. I can then add, if I choose, a second segment, for example, commuters, and you'll see that I can move these cards around and sort them if I want to. Maybe having identified my customer segments, I'll then identify my channels, how I'm going to find these customers. And so, for example, I might say my key way to find new customers is from passing trade. Once I've identified that, it might become apparent that one of my key resources might be a well-placed shop with good signage, so that those passing customers can see my shop and come in to see what's going on. And that in turn might lead me to conclude that one of my first expenses will be rent. And you'll see how I can go about building up my business model canvas in this way. But I'm not going to bore you by completing the whole thing in this video. Instead, what I'm going to do now is show you how I can dive into any card on my business model canvas to add more detail. For example, I can click on this customer segment to open up a new screen where I can add more detail, anything I know about this customer segment. For example, I might know or just believe that they tend to be 35 to 50 years old with children, etc., etc., etc. I can also click on this canvas here to open up a sub-canvas, in this case a value proposition canvas, for this segment. Again, don't worry if you don't know what a value proposition canvas is. Help is always at hand. So I might start by adding a job to be done, like keep fit, gains, such as feel like a member of the cycling community, pains, like don't know how to maintain an expensive bike. Then I can cross over onto the other side of the canvas and add some matching gain creators. So a gain creator could be organized Sunday rides, and a pain reliever could be free bike servicing for 1 year after purchase, for example. And lastly, of course, let's not forget the actual products and services themselves. So I am selling bikes, both new and second-hand. And let's say I'm also going to be selling cycling clothing. So in this way, I can map out more detail about what I believe about my customer segment and how my value proposition is going to match their needs. But when I return to my business model canvas, you'll see that the tool has pulled through those gain creators and pain relievers onto the value proposition section of my business model canvas. And hopefully, this will show you how stratnavapp.com understands the relationship between the different frameworks and can help you connect the dots and keep everything in sync as you develop and eventually execute your strategy. Let's imagine, if you can, that I've now finished my business model canvas. What now? There are 3 things you'll probably want to do. Firstly, you'll want to share it, perhaps with your business partner or just someone whose opinion you really value and you want to see what they think about your strategy. There are 3 ways that you can do this. The simplest is to download one of your models as an image. If I click on this image download button, you'll see the system will download the image in my browser, and from here I can easily paste it into an email or an instant message to send to someone. You'll notice also that if I open it up quickly in an image editor, that it's tidied up the image by removing the input boxes and anything else that's not needed to convey your meaning. But that will include a single image only and won't include any of the additional information that I added behind the scenes. For that, I need to go into our reporting module, where I can select what I want to include and generate a report in HTML or Microsoft Word. I can select what I want to include in that report, depending on how much I've added, and the system will collate and cross-reference it all for me. I can then print it out or attach it to an email or share it by some other means. Finally, I can share my project with someone else directly in stratnavapp.com by selecting Share this project. Here, I simply enter their email addresses and personalize the message before clicking Invite. The system will then send an email to the other person or people, inviting them to sign up. From there, they'll be able to interact with, edit, and comment on your work right in the system. And the system will keep you up to date and track everything they do for you. The second thing I might want to do is to validate my business idea and strategy. Validation is a vital part of any startup journey. You want to do as much as you can to be sure your strategy will work before you start investing too much time and money in it. Again, stratnavapp.com can help. If I click back on my Weekend Warriors customer segment, for example, you will recall that I made some assumptions about what kind of people they are and what their jobs to be done, pains, and gains were. Now, I could set myself a task to, for example, interview 10 Weekend Warriors to confirm their jobs to be done, pains, and gains. Similarly, I could go to my key resource, a well-placed shop with good signage, and add another action to research average rental costs in my local area. Now, if I click on Governance and then RAID, you will see the system has started to collect a list of all the actions I need to do to validate my business model. Obviously, in a real-life situation, the list would probably be a lot longer. I can even set due dates and assign people to do them if I'm working in a team. And the system will remind me as and when they become due. The third thing that you might want to do with your business model canvas, once you've validated it, is to start executing it. For a startup, almost everything on the business model canvas will need to be built or somehow acquired. For example, if I click on Organize Local Sunday Rides, I might create actions to design and print flyers for our first ride, and hand out flyers on Saturday morning, or even invite a local celebrity to join our first ride, etc., etc., etc. You can imagine that there will be many things to do for each and every card on your business model canvas. And stratnavapp.com will be collating all of those actions into a single list, so that you can know exactly what needs to be done, who needs to do it, and by when it needs to be done to get your business going. In this way, stratnavapp.com can become your end-to-end strategic operating system for your business. We've barely touched the surface on all the different things that stratnavapp.com can do to help you to develop and execute your strategy and help ensure your business success. But hopefully, this brief glimpse has given you some insight into how it works, the support you get from the tool, and the confidence to try it for yourself.